Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Hot Mic. Hot Mic. On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo. Dom Izzo.
Good Monday morning. This is the Spring is Here edition of Hot Mic on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com on this 10th of April. It only took till the 10th of April. Hope everybody enjoyed their weekend, whether it was celebrating the holiday or even for myself, like chipping ice at the end of the driveway, which was awesome. It should be a holiday for some of us, considering I haven't seen the end of my driveway since the end of December. It felt pretty good. I actually found out that the driveway is a heck of a lot bigger than I remember. So I'm sure all of us that own property are feeling the same way and will continue over the next couple days as the melting is underway, and I'm hopeful as we sit here that maybe 2 weeks from now we can actually start playing some games outside. Maybe sooner than that, but I would say somewhere in that vicinity is when likely we're going to start having some outdoor sports in this part of the world. Great to be back with everybody after the weekend. Ready to dive into a busy week as the NBA playoffs will officially get going. We're going to show you how the Timberwolves punched their way into the postseason, literally coming up here in just a few minutes. We are full in now into the first week and a half of the baseball season. The Twins are playing well. They took a series from the world champion Astros over the weekend at Target Field. Getting set for a matinee today with the White Sox. Something about a Monday matinee. That's kind of neat. The Twins will do that coming up later today against Chicago. We wrapped up the Masters in a most unique way that the weather certainly was a factor. If you saw Friday what happened, that was about as scary as possible with gigantic trees coming down. And there's a couple of stories out of that. You know, I love the Masters, one of my favorite sporting events of the year, but a couple of things I read this weekend certainly have affected my viewpoint on it that maybe I knew and just didn't pay attention to, or a couple of things I just didn't know, frankly, about what they control in terms of the television part of that. We'll get into that. Hopefully we have some time later on in the show. The national championship in hockey was decided over the weekend. Gopher fans are, I'm sure, still muttering to themselves after what happened on Saturday night and then seeing their team get, now I don't know if dismantled is the right word, because I think they probably figured that the guys that were going to go were going to go. Like we were visiting with Jess Myers on the show on Thursday. You know, soon at Brock Favors signed with the Minnesota Wild. Matthew Nyes signed with the Maple Leafs. It's only probably a matter of time Logan Cooley's gone. I mean, it's just the mass exodus about to begin for the University of Minnesota, which makes it all the more painful knowing that the Frozen Four is in St. Paul for next season. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. So, packed show, a lot to get to, and excited to be back here as we now sit officially 17 days out from the NFL draft. Our coverage of that is certainly going to ramp up here over the next couple of weeks in anticipation of what should be a crazy 3 days, another busy 3 days for people that follow North Dakota State football and FCS football in general, because there are quite a few names out of the FCS ranks. They're going to have their names called in just a couple weeks. So we're excited about that and really going to ramp things up on our draft coverage over the next couple weeks. With that said, let's begin our show. We talked about it when we left you Friday. The Wolves had two huge games. They went 2-0. They could guarantee themselves in the 7-8 game. The chances of getting to 6 were slim. They won on Saturday against San Antonio in a game that had no defense. So it all came down to this game with the Pelicans, a game that they had to have, because if they do this, then they're in the 7-8 game because none of the games went their way. Results, that is. Jaden McDaniels called for an early foul. That's his second foul. And he's so despondent, he punches the wall. He punched the wall and did not come back for obvious reasons. Rudy Gobert, not necessarily his best game. Not quite sure if he wasn't trying there on the inbound pass. Here, no defense. Is Brandon Ingram, by the way, looked like Michael Jordan in the first half. And then you've got chaos on the bench with Kyle Anderson and Gobert pushes and punches Anderson on the bench. And this, by the way, is in the second quarter of the game. The Wolves send Gobert home. It's like, get out of here. You're dismissed for the day. If you were in school, out of here. And from there, the Wolves actually played really well. Cat hits a three. Hits a deep three. This gave the Timberwolves their first lead of the game at 89-87. Hit 3 straight threes. And the Timberwolves are up by 5 at this point. It's a 2-point game here as C.J. McCollum is rejected by Anthony Edwards. That is a fantastic play. They go back the other way. Edwards drives and turns it over, but then they force the steal. Edwards gets it back, and the and one. And Target Center was going crazy at that point. Edwards was possessed at the end of this game. That gave Minnesota a 4-point lead. The Pelicans got one last chance, though, because it's the NBA, and a team is really never out of it, but this three is way off the mark. And the Timberwolves hang on and beat the Pelicans 113-108 in a game that featured 2 of their main cogs not finishing the game. Edwards goes, you see, for 26 points and 13 rebounds. Cat was great with 30, knocking down 5 of 8 from three-point range. And in the process, the Timberwolves clinched the 8th seed. But at what cost in this game? Jaden McDaniels is done for the year, fracturing his right hand after punching the wall, which I don't think that's getting nearly enough attention because all the attention today, nationally, locally, is going to be on what happened with Gobert and Kyle Anderson. Rudy put out a statement afterwards, tweeted out that he apologized. His actions were inappropriate. Apologized to Kyle Anderson, which we'll dive into this more here in a second. The Wolves, though, as I mentioned, get the 8th seed. So what does that mean? They will play the Los Angeles Lakers coming up tomorrow night in L.A. in the 7-8 game, which means if they win that game, the Wolves will be the 7 seed for the NBA postseason. If they lose, they would have to play the winner of the 9-10 game between New Orleans and Oklahoma City. That game would be in Minneapolis, but then it's truly winner take all. So the Wolves have 2 chances to make the postseason. The question is, who's going to be playing for the Timberwolves in this game tomorrow night against LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and the Lakers? Here's the sound afterward from Chris Finch and Kyle Anderson about what went down during the game yesterday.
It's very frustrating, a couple blown assignments, a lot on the line tonight. We're not proud of that behavior by anybody. We really haven't dug too far into the root cause of it, but guys are just frustrated. We weren't playing well. We weren't sharing the ball. We weren't, we're getting beat in all the little areas. I mean, we look sluggish, like you did want a back-to-back, but I think the gravity of the game made it feel like we were in a little bit of panic mode, and we just trying to get calmed down there. So certainly not something that we condone. Veterans can get upset too. So I don't, want to be too hard on him, but obviously it's not something we're going to be able to tolerate here. And I'm sure he's already remorseful. I haven't had a chance to speak with him about it. Do
you have any thought on if you can play going forward in terms of discipline or in?
Yeah, that'll be handled internally, and just got to talk to Tim and everything.
Before we want to win games, it is what it is. It ain't the first time someone has swung on me. It is what it is. We keep it in-house.
Is that, you think you've always been a vocal leader? Is that just kind of go with the territory a little bit challenging?
I think our temper's just flared. That's all. It is what it is. We'll speak about it and move on. We grown men. It is what it is. Let's move on.
All right, so the ironic part about this is Rudy Gobert actually just spoke highly of Kyle Anderson to the Star Tribune just a couple days ago. This is a Gobert quote to the Tribune, to the Strip. Kyle wants to win, and sometimes he's a little aggressive in the way he talks, but I don't take it personally. I receive it in a positive way because it comes from a place of wanting me to be the best Rudy I can be and wanting us to win. I love his competitiveness, love the way he plays the game, the way he makes others around him better. He's been a huge part this year. Really? Are you sure you like it? Adrian Wojnarowski reported that Anderson was telling Gobert to play defense and rebound and had some other colorful four-letter words that we can't say on this program, even though it certainly would add fun to the story. Rudy took exception to that, said some other four-letter words to Kyle, and then you saw what happened. So, adding on to this from what Woj reporting, Gobert hurt his back at a victory over the Spurs on Saturday and nearly didn't play yesterday. He was sore, believed he was fighting through the discomfort, and referred to those limitations with his back when arguing with Anderson, sources told ESPN's Zach Lowe on Sunday night. Gobert escalated the verbal argument to a physical encounter after Kyle Anderson told him to shut the bleep up. The disagreement started with Anderson telling Gobert to block some shots, Gobert telling him to grab a rebound, and ended with, as we saw. So, now what? I mean, literally the Wolves play. You saw the highlights, and if anybody was watching the game yesterday, literally they played tremendously after Gobert went home. They were great. Now, granted, the Pelicans are not the Boston Celtics or the 76ers or the Bucks or any of that, or the Nuggets, or the Grizzlies, who the Wolves could face if they end up winning this game tomorrow night. But you can't discount the fact that they have played. I think they've played better when Gobert hasn't been there. That's me. I mean, it's easy to pile on now after what happened. The bigger thing, and like I talked about off the top, is the injury to Jaden McDaniels, because he's been great defensively. Even in that game a couple of Fridays ago when they lost to the Lakers at Target Center, McDaniels was guarding LeBron. And I think LeBron was like 7 of 19 or something in that game. He was bad in LeBron stats. Here's a cool stat, again, from Woj. He's one of 6 players to defend 2022-2023 All-Stars at least 1,000 times this season. Now he's lost versus LeBron and the Lakers in the play-in game and beyond. That's the one that should probably get more attention. And Chris Finch said it after the game. It's been an immaturity issue all year with the team. Guys, if we can cue that up, if you can, possibly, that'd be great. I understand frustration, but you can't do that. And where's he going, by the way? It wasn't even at the end of the quarter. It's not like he got sent home. They needed him after he picked up his second foul, and then to go and punch the wall. I mean, I get frustration. I do. But you can't do this. You just can't. And what did you think was going to happen? Nobody that's ever punched a wall has come out and won it outside of Shaquille O'Neal. Might be the only one. I have no idea what to expect now tomorrow night in this game. Frankly, and again, this is an easy hot take to have on a Monday after what happened, I would be okay with saying, we're talking about NFL teams willing to pack up and say, you know what, we screwed up on a trade and move on. If the Wolves were to say, you know what, we screwed up here and move on from, I understand what they gave up, but you can't have that. You just can't. It's just so bad. It's just bad. I mean, and the best part about it, for the people that saw the game yesterday, A-Rod was right there. Now, granted, A-Rod's had plenty of his own issues with his own teammates. We don't even need to talk about what happened with him and Derek Jeter. But if you're Mark Laurie and A-Rod and you're seeing this, Chris Finch has already got to be on the hot seat anyway. The team won, how many games they win? 42 games? They were expected to win at least 52. We talked about that if they didn't scuffle away as how badly they were at the end of against bad teams, they would have been in the second or the third seed. Now we're talking about them potentially just getting into the playoffs. It's a bad deal. And I can understand them saying, well, we're going to handle internally. How do you let him play? Gobert, that is, tomorrow night. I don't. Kyle Anderson, we're moving on. How do you do that? I don't know. I mean, I played plenty of team sports growing up. Now, obviously, nothing beyond the high school level. But telling you right now, that happened, we're having some serious repercussions there. We'll have more on that as the show goes on. Before we wrap up our opening segment, the Masters wrapped up yesterday at Augusta after a horrendous weather day on Saturday. They talked about it. We heard Tom Hoagie told us a week ago Friday. We're hearing the weather's going to be bad. Well, it lived up to it. Saturday, we had freaking trees come down nearly on people. Thankfully, it didn't happen. The weather Saturday got terrible. Stopped the round early in the third round, so they had to come out and play the rest of the third round yesterday morning and then play the final round, which shaped up to be a showdown between Brooks Koepka and Jon Rahm. Rahm, who's quietly on his way, and I can't say quietly, on his way to the number one position in the world. Big birdie putt there. Trailed Koepka by one shot. The fourth hole is almost where everything changed in the final round. Koepka's tee shot here finds the bunker at the par 3. Koepka, honestly, after Friday, did not play well. Just did not. And Rahm, after that double bogey at the opening hole on Thursday, was sensational. Because everything changed after that fourth hole as Koepka bogeyed, Rahm birdied, and then this outstanding chip shot at the 8th. He was just unflappable for most of the day. Could not anything really deter him. And Koepka was going the other way. Kept throwing bogeys around. He was spraying it all over the golf course. 13th hole was a chance here to, you think, change things up. Koepka makes a birdie. So he's got back within 2. And then Rahm, of course, answers with a birdie of his own and gets the lead back to 3. And it never really felt like anything was up for grabs. And the door was certainly slammed shut on this shot at the 14th hole, where Rahm is a little sideways in the trees and then gets an unbelievable roll here towards the cup for a kick-in birdie there. And basically, he made the last 4 holes pretty much irrelevant, which I'm sure CBS wasn't thrilled about since there wasn't really any competition. But he is now the number 1 golfer in the world, passing Scottie Scheffler. That's his 4th win already this season and his 2nd major. He's now got a U.S. Open and a Masters. And the green jacket presented last night. And we got the most awkward television moment, too, last night. The Butler Cabot interview never disappoints. But it lacked the drama that CBS and so many of us that watch it was hoping for. But that was a dominant performance there from Jon Rahm yesterday. Congratulations to him. And the year of him, 2023, Scheffler keeps winning. So does Rahm. I mean, literally, it seems like every other week this guy is winning. For our guy, Tom Hoagie, literally the bogey at the 18th hole Friday morning, early afternoon, cost him the weekend because he's sitting at +4. And as we're sitting here, as we left the air on Friday, thinking he's nowhere close to making it, Justin Thomas made a bogey early Saturday to move the cut line to +3. So if he makes a putt there at the 18th or there's a couple other shots, he just did not play well. He's playing the weekend. He was that close, but as it turns out, he misses by 1 shot. He'll be back in action this week. We got a fun show coming up for you. Our best of the weekend is right around the corner. At 9:35, Jeff Kolpack will join us in his usual Monday time slot. We'll react to what he saw from the Masters. A couple other topics we want to get to with Jeff coming up at 9:35. At 10:35, Shanley Athletic Director Reggie Jackson will join us. Some big news coming out of Shanley as they were the first in the area to get field turf put on their football field. And now here you are 14 years later. They've exceeded the life expectancy of that turf by about 4 years. They'll have new turf and a track that'll be coming in at Shanley, joining the likes of Fargo South, which has one, and Davies, which has a track. North is adding a track south of the school, and now Shanley will have one there as well. So we'll talk to Reggie about that project and when the expected time to be that done for the defending state champions to have a new turf to be out there to start the new football season in 2023. That's coming up at 10:35. That and a heck of a lot more here on a Monday morning. We're glad you're joining us. We're punching our way through it. I'm not going to stop that. Hot Mike returns after this on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com. Welcome back, everybody, to Hot Mike here, Monday morning edition, WDAY Extra, Inforum.com. Jeff Kolpack coming up in just a few minutes. I am intrigued to see what happens here for this team tomorrow night after the debacle yesterday. They won the game. Only in Minnesota fashion you have that happen. All right, let's do our best of the weekend here. Lots to get to as we'll spread around. We'll begin with the North Dakota State baseball team, which we left you on Friday. We're still trying to get to Lubbock, Texas for their game with Texas Tech. In fact, some players didn't even arrive until an hour before the game. They had massive travel issues. Didn't matter. Terrell Huggins, you can see, with a great diving catch in foul ground in left field on Friday night. Texas Tech comes in, 23rd ranked team in the country, 22nd in some polls. Bison didn't matter. Drew Sackett didn't care. Here goes the opposite way for an RBI double. Start of a huge night for him. Gave the Bison a 2-1 lead. They would add on to that here in the 5th inning. Peter Brookshaw goes into the right center field gap. That goes for an RBI single. Bison build a 4-1 lead, which was more than enough for Bismarck's Cade Feeney. He was tremendous on Friday night. Only allowed 1 run, only allowed 3 hits, went 6 innings, struck out 5. Bison blow the game open in the 9th inning, already with 2 runs in. Sakic delivers again. That's his 3rd double of the day. Plates 2 more runs. The Bison get up 8-1. Skylar Riedinger comes in. The other Bismarck Century kid. Thought that was pretty neat to get the final 6 outs of this game. And the Bison get their first ranked win since 2016 as they beat Texas Tech 8-1. You see the line for Feeney. He was great. I understand Texas Tech came back and beat the Bison in a doubleheader sweep on Saturday. But that is a pretty good win for Tyler Oaks' team. Add on the fact of all the issues they had just to get to Lubbock. That's awesome. That's a great win for them. And the Century kids with Feeney and Riedinger were both outstanding in that win on Friday. Saturday, the Twins debuted their alternate jerseys. Now, I've made plenty of this known since they trotted these out in January, I think it was, before Twins Fest. And we hate the new road jerseys. The hats with the M on them are bad, but I'll give them some props. The Twin Cities, these ones here, the Twin Cities jerseys, those are pretty slick. I'll tell you, I understand there's no red in them, but they're pretty good. They wore them yesterday as well, along with Saturday. Helps when Kyle Farmer can hit home runs for you. Christian Vasquez can get big-time hits for you. And Byron Buxton will hit one to the moon like he did on Saturday. But I'm telling you, folks, those are, I think, my new leaders in the clubhouse. Those are sharp-looking jerseys. look good, play good, right? That's the way we hear it. I think they look pretty good. Those should be the new full-time home jerseys, if you're asking me. They won't be, because the new look twins, the white and the red stripe across the front, I'm sure they'll wear them today against the White Sox. Those are pretty cool. I like those a lot. Lastly, as we wrap up our best of the weekend, from Tampa on Saturday night, you watched any of the game between Quinnipiac and Minnesota. Hopefully you caught the very end, because the Gophers led this game 2-1 in the third period and literally tried to hang on by their fingernails to win the hockey game. And if anybody knows anything about hockey, trying to play conservatively for an entire period ain't going to work. And Quinnipiac pulled their goalie with under 3 minutes to go and got the game-tying goal there to send this game to overtime. And literally, if you sat down like, all right, here we go, overtime, and it was over 10 seconds in on a fantastic play. And Quinnipiac wins its first national championship in any sport. I got to give them some love. Former Division III school like my beloved alma mater. They moved up to Division I and have been a powerhouse in men's hockey over the last decade. Third time to the national championship game. Remember the last time they lost to North Dakota in that building in Tampa in 2016. They beat Minnesota. How about that? They beat 3 Big Ten teams on their way to the national championship. You can't discount that. Congratulations to the Bobcats and Rand Pecknall, the longtime 29 years head coach in Hamden, Connecticut. It's a pretty nice town. Heck of an arena. They love their hockey there. Heck of a run for the state of Connecticut. Last Monday, the men's basketball team in UConn wins the national championship, and now Quinnipiac wins the men's hockey championship. Tough, bitter pill for Minnesota. They were loaded. If there was any team that was going to win, it was going to be that one, and they lose in overtime. We'll take a break. Jeff Kolpack will be by. Lots to break down from the weekend. Get his thoughts on the Masters. Much more when Hot Mike returns on a Monday morning. We're back after this.
It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2. I forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4! I should have yelled 2.
All right, I have done television with you for a long time. There have been many times I've wanted to take a swing at you. I've never done that. Neither have you taken a swing at me. Well, you saw the Wolves game, what happened, right? What happened yesterday?
Yep.
I've been reserved on that. What? I mean, seriously.
Somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning.
I'm just telling you, man. Like, you always tell me to bring the hard edge. I'm ready to bring it here.
Let's go.
Honestly, how you played competitive sports, you played high-level competitive sports, you played Division II baseball. If that happened on your team, what would happen the next day?
Said player would be gone.
Right.
No questions. You hit a teammate, you're out of here.
Do that,
you cannot do that.
They have to play tomorrow night. Like, how in the world is that going to happen?
I shouldn't say gone, but for sure take 3 weeks off or something. Man, God,
it's just unbelievable.
They sent him home like a high school kid who got busted for a beer in his hotel room.
I mean, I don't know how you go forward from that. I really don't. That's just the most bizarre.
It was weird.
Yeah.
I thought it was a joke on Twitter. Then nope.
The joke part about it is one of their best players broke his hand punching a wall.
Yeah, how was your weekend,
come on.
Wolves?
I mean, and they actually won the game. It's just the most backwards thing I could ever think of. Just only the Timberwolves could have that happen to them.
So
that's all I can say.
Let's rewind here. In said instances when you've wanted to hit me. What are we particularly talking about? The nickel? When you choke like a dog?
Oh, yeah, we're going to go down this road. Normally, it gets near the pick'em segment when you're trying to, insist that you have a better career record than I do in that, which is
Koepka played the Masters like you were down the stretch on the nickel.
What happened to
You just failed.
Huh?
Just didn't have it.
So we did that at the end of our first segment. CBS always counts on some back nine drama, and we had Rahm put that all to bed basically about the 7th or 8th hole yesterday, no?
Yeah, he did. And John Rahm, just from the get-go, I thought was the aggressor. Koepka, And you could say what you want about the Live Tour and their 54-hole thing. Yeah. And I know the pundits sort of poo-pooed that, but I have to wonder at 54 holes and competitive. I know he's grew up and has played 72 hole rounds for years, but it's been a while.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
He's still coming back from injury as well. I don't know. I think what is one of the golfers said? Who said it to the reporters? I forget who it was, to stop making this a deal. I don't know if it was Ian Poulter. One of the guys said after the round.
But it is a deal.
Right? Isn't it a deal?
It is a deal.
I mean, it's not going anywhere.
It's just going to get worse on the 50.
The media, you guys are making this a thing every time you bring it up.
All right, then why did your guy die like a dog on the last 18?
I didn't get that reaction.
Actually, the last, 30?
I would say, the last 27, he did not play very well, pretty much at all Sunday, and he really wasn't great even in the short time on Saturday he was out.
Then there's 81-year-old Phil Mickelson who played great on Sunday. So I guess that throws that theory out the window a little bit. But I think, and watching the Golf Channel guys who are really good, I think, and some of the best analysts,
is awesome.
Some of the best analysts in the industry
really
in any
good.
sport.
Really good.
So eventually, the longer the Live Tour goes, the more that could be an issue on 54 hole versus 72.
Really?
Because those guys, you're going to get comfortable at 54. And you're going to get comfortable with not having to grind it out just to make a paycheck.
That was my thing about the grinding part of it and just the super ultra competitive nature of it. It's there on the PGA Tour. I don't know. Is it going to be there?
Did that make
on
the difference on Sunday?
I mean, Koepka's known for being a grinder and being able to wait everybody out and make his move and outlast everybody, I guess, is what Koepka's known for.
But that was John Rahm to the tee, and John Rahm is the guy right now.
He is.
He's got this build of almost an offensive lineman playing golf. And when I watch him tee off, he's either his club is shorter or he's really that big or a combination of both.
Is he like he's hulking over?
But it looks like he's swinging like a popsicle stick. I mean, it just whips through there. His hands look like you can barely reach the top of the club. And just the club head speed is incredible.
He's the guy now. I mean, you look at it, he's got 2 majors. I mean, he's the number 1 ranked golfer in the world. It's hard to bet against this guy for the next whatever majors we have coming up here. But he's going to be the odds-on favorite every time he tees it up.
Yep, seems to have all the facets of the game. But I thought the compelling story was the amateur I thought making a dent, in the first 2 rounds and being there on Sunday.
The part that always gets me on that part is they have the low am in there, Sam Bennett, right? And he's sitting there in the most awkward part of live sports TV there is, the Butler Cabin interview. I don't know if you noticed this yesterday. He just got up and left. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
He just got up and left. Well, after Jim Nantz was done with him,
I'm out.
He literally on camera.
Didn't somebody tell him, here's what you do?
I think they did.
And he just forgot.
No, that's how it is. It made it even more awkward.
Oh, he's supposed to get up and leave? No, when we do our bracketology, yes. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to get up and leave after my last pick.
You're done?
I'm out.
I was laughing. I'm like, they couldn't have made this any more awkward than they already did by having this. The Masters, and I don't know if you saw this article from Front Office Sports, and I knew how much they run everything, but how much they run to the television side of it, I had no idea. I knew that they have certain announcers that they prefer, and you can only say certain words. You can't say fans. You can only say patrons. But, it goes beyond that to this extent where they control the post-match interview.
To the T.
Oh, my God.
Just to everything.
The poor kid is just sitting there, and then, okay.
Now, is he playing in that tournament today? There's no way.
I would doubt it.
Yeah, but they were leading on like he was going to carry his bag for 36 holes. Come on.
It was so awkward. Like they might as well got the old
Texas A&M Aggie Invitational. Oh, you're going to have to carry your bag for 36 holes tomorrow in the Aggie Invitational. Did they actually ask him if he's going to play?
Oh, God. It's just every year that never disappoints in the awkward part of it. You do that, by the way. You go ahead and walk right out of
I will.
Pick, I'll lose.
We're always looking for new material.
Our guy, Tom Hoagie, did not play well.
No.
Ended up missing the cut by 1 shot, as it turns out. It makes 1 or 2 putts. He's playing the weekend. And then I'm sure you saw the tweet he put out If we can show it, guys. He gets home, and one of his clubs snapped on the flight home from American Airlines there. That's a rough few days for our guy.
We just had a broken driver today. A little levity. Good for Tom. I thought Tom probably had the same words that Brooks Koepka had.
Yeah.
Some days you have it, some days you don't. Yeah. And his irons were not crisp. They were not spot on like they had been this year. Putting is always a X factor at Augusta, and probably a couple too many 3-putts. You're not going to not 3-putt everything.
Right.
But it just wasn't there. And now you got to move on. And obviously,
he's right back. He's playing Heritage.
I think that's a sign, that tweet, that he's put it behind him. Like, just, okay, didn't play well, a little levity, broke my iron, let's go.
He's playing Hilton Head this weekend, which is one of the courses he really likes. It's a tight course that you got to be precise with stuff that we'll see how he gets back. But it's the thing just to make it there. He talked to both of us about that, about qualifying to get there. That's the goal, to do that. And now that's what's the rest of the year is to make sure he's got another trip back in 24.
Yeah, and I know we try to get credentials and we can't, but I figured a way in.
Oh.
I just thought about this.
Okay.
My golf show, the 5th largest AM signal in the country. I got to put that front and center.
That's going to get you there?
Well, it's something. It's worth a shot, isn't it?
You can try whatever you want, buddy boy. I don't think they're going to let us in one way or the other.
Tom Hoagie's assistant caddy.
Oh, man. I'm glad you brought that up about Sam Bennett, because I totally forgot. Watching that happen live.
Oh, that story on his father was just was
riveting stuff.
Great stuff.
Riveting stuff there. Let's take a break. We come back. We'll chat big win for Tyler Oaks' Bison baseball team as they get set to get back into Summit League play. The Bison softball team is rolling as well. And we have 2 weeks left of NDSU spring ball. We'll get back into that when we wrap up Hour 1 with Jeff Kolpack. Right after this on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com.
Still feel like slugging me?
Never. We move past it.
I can't believe you opened it.
Did you see this line score from the weekend? This
Where?
minor league game?
No.
Put it back up, boys, so Jeff can see it here. Chattanooga and Rocket City playing. That's in the Southern League, AA. Chattanooga won the game 7-0 without a hit. 7 runs on no hits? What?
And only 1 error. How many walks are we talking here?
Bad baseball, man.
How many walks?
5 in 1 inning. Bad. By the way, your guy, Sam Bennett's not playing today.
Yeah.
I think we could have called that from a mile out. A couple things I want to hit you here before we talk some Bison stuff. John Canzano, who writes out in Oregon, good guy, covers a lot of stuff for the Pac-12, talking some realignment news, because now with San Diego State basically giving an open resume with their run to the national championship game, it only seems logical. The Pac-12 and them were already flirting that may happen. He's asking about the Mountain West. Who should the Mountain West Conference be exploring as potential expansion targets? My mind immediately went to a handful of California-based Big Sky Conference members, such as Davis, Cal Poly, and Sacramento State. I'm told by an industry insider that those options won't easily fly. There could be firm opposition from San Jose State, Nevada, and Fresno, who all regularly recruit California. He also said to wave off Montana. He said that Montana and Montana State will stay together. Also added in this that Pac-12 or the Mountain West could decide to stay at 10 full-time football members. They have 11 with Hawaii. But it says the ultimate play for the Mountain West may be in Texas, i.e. Sam Houston, UTEP, or Texas San Antonio.
Oh, what a gut punch to McFeely.
If Sam Houston were to get in the Mountain West before even the Bison gets sniffed, come on. But again, that goes back to what we've talked about for how long that there's this infatuation with the state of Texas with every conference and conference commissioner. And you've written about this how many times? What do we have? Is it 20 Division I schools that are in the state of Texas?
Count.
It's a ton
At
of
least.
them.
I thought it was more than that.
That they're this infatuation of them trying to get back into Texas. And this would reinforce that if they were to go and do that.
I feel like the Mountain West, when you're going to a directional school or a city named school like that, although it's Huntsville or whatever, it's a regional
Texas El Paso,
regional school is what I'm trying
Texas
to think
San
of.
Antonio,
rather than a land grant. I guess 25 D1s in Texas, we're told. I guess when you look at that, to me, it shrinks your credibility.
Yeah.
Rather than opening it up to, again, a land, because half those schools at least are land grants, are they not, in the Mountain West?
Yep.
I would think the presidents would not go for that.
I think, but they're also looking at it on the basketball side. If Gonzaga is open to that they would take Gonzaga in open arms there. The new Mountain West commissioner used to be the commissioner of the West Coast Conference. So,
even though Gonzaga doesn't have football.
Correct. We've heard Gonzaga's being rumored for the Big 12 as well. So this, just because there hasn't been a whole lot of chatter about it does not mean it's over. I think once we now get past the spring sports, always in the summer months is when things will heat up again on this. And I think we're right back into that.
We go back to North Dakota State, where we live, where our situation is. It's just too far north and too far out of the way. It's how do you get by that?
I don't know if you can.
I don't think you can.
If it hasn't happened now, I'm never going to say never, but
if you're not even part of these discussions right now,
not being thrown
if you're not even being thrown around.
Yep. I'm with you there. I did have an email come in. Ask Kolpack is surprised that Rob Jeter leaving Macomb for Cedar City. Rob Jeter looks like he's going to be the head coach at Southern Utah. Leaving Macomb for that.
No, I'm not surprised anybody leaving Macomb. And we've discussed this a lot, that the school is struggling academically. It's got 2 high-rise dorms that aren't even being used.
We were there.
And they've lost over half the enrollment in the last several to not many years anyway.
So not even a decade, no.
Funding has got to be an issue there. I'm surprised zero.
But Cedar City, though, that's the that's
it's
the
got
issue.
better golf courses.
Yes, there's no doubt on that. But I mean, you're still going to a tough spot there in the WAC is where Southern Utah now resides for its sports. They left the Big Sky.
He obviously
last year.
There's something about Western that doesn't not sitting right with him.
And that's interesting because Western in a good year. I think they had their most wins they've had in a decade. They tied for 4th in the Summit League this past season.
And we've gone over it. It's in a good recruiting footprint you're not far from Chicago.
Yep.
You're not far from Indy. I mean, you're not far from a lot of big area towns, and they've been able. Back in the day when the NDSU first joined Division I, Western was just killing it with that recruiting footprint. But the school is just shriveled up.
But they've also put their eggs in the basketball basket, Kolpack. They said we can be good in men's and women's basketball. Football's gone by the wayside.
With the facility, hasn't done much.
Tough spot there. So there's going to be 2 at least new men's basketball coaches in the Summit with Oral Roberts. Obviously, Russell Springman's going to be the guy who is Paul Mills' top assistant, and then we'll see who's going to get the Western Illinois job
NDSU
there.
is still hanging on to its guys, men's basketball.
Yep.
I know we don't think Grant Nelson is going to be around for long, but we don't know that. But everybody else, the fear that these freshmen are going to move on somewhere.
At this moment,
at this particular minute,
right? Where the season has been over a month. I think if you were going to go, you've been gone.
And that's a big deal for Dave Richmond's philosophy, because I think if guys would have left after this year, after 1 year, and gone to somewhere else, then I think he would have had to adjust his thoughts on the portal and use the portal more rather than doing the high school development thing.
Yep.
So right now, the high school development philosophy is still on.
Bison baseball team gets a monster win on Friday night, beating Texas Tech at a game. Tyler Oakes was telling me they had some players getting there an hour before the game started
because of the
in Lubbock
travel.
Friday night. That's a big win for them.
I always thought, in to a lesser extent, we went through this when I played back in the 80s, where we played a tough schedule, these Texas schools, and you come back like 1-15 and just demoralize, and it has the other effect. I always say, schedule people you can beat.
Yep.
There's nothing like winning to help the morale and practice habits. But facing Texas Tech and Texas,
and they play Texas too,
and Arizona and all these schools, I thought, okay, it can either help you or you can really demoralize you. And so the win over Texas Tech, I think, was a big deal. And they're winning in the Summit, too.
They've won their first 2 Summit League series here, so they got a monster one coming up, we think. Supposed to be next week with Oral Roberts up here. What are the chances that actually happens?
And let's face it, they're way better than we ever thought we were D2 back in the day, but they got players. They got pitching.
Darren Mueller's team goes and beats USD in a series that was supposed to be here. It goes down to Sioux Falls, and they take 2 of 3 from South Dakota. I think they found themselves here.
He's got pitching.
Yeah.
I think he just went back to better recruiting, his old recruiting footprint.
Yeah.
Bring in the Californians. You're a nationwide school.
Yeah.
You're not going to win getting kids from North Dakota, Minnesota. You're not. Softball just isn't big enough up here.
Showdown series this weekend.
Not enough kids.
Right.
I shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Big.
Yep.
Softball it's a numbers game. You got so many players in California.
Showdown series for the Bison. They go to South Dakota State. The Jackrabbits have won the Summit the last 3 years.
And they've gotten better in almost every sport.
The Jackrabbits are really good in softball now, so that'll be a biggie. That'll be in Brookings.
They must be cheating,
weekend.
Dom.
Yeah. Come on now.
Come on, tweet it out.
Bison football has 2 weeks left. I know you wrote a story on Mekhi Collins is a guy that I've had my eye on since he got on campus here last year. I think he and Carson Hegerle seem to be the guys that at the wide receiver spot, I think that they have ample opportunity to get a lot of runs.
Somebody needs to step forward and be the guy. Somebody, I think Zach Mathis is a great possession receiver and has his role, but he's not I don't think he's the go-to guy.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to step forward to the 7-catch, 1 touchdown, 38-yard bomb kind of game. The Zach Vra, Holloways. I'm not saying Christian Watson because they're never going to find a guy like that probably for a while, if ever again.
Yep.
But such a dependable go-to guy, Ryan Smith. I mean, we've seen him over the years. They got to find that one guy. They didn't have it last year.
The over-the-top guy. That's, to me, is the over-the-top guy to go.
Because if you go over the
deep.
top, then all of a sudden your comeback routes come, much more easily open.
Zach Vra could do that so well. Obviously,
and he had such great hands. He has good ice cream now too.
Shepard, yes, he does. Darius Shepard could do that so well to get open, go over the top, and make a home run play.
Yep.
They did not have that last year, and that's why you could put 9 guys up there and try and stop the run, which at the end of the season worked pretty well against the Bison when defense. Sanford did that, and Carnivore tried to, but obviously South Dakota State did that very well as well.
Spring ball it's typical. We really don't know. Obviously, the coaches study every movement, every play, every practice rep. We don't. So what have we gotten out of it so far?
The one thing I'll take out of it is Cole Wisniewski has done almost every rep at safety. We make it that. Is that just we need to get a guy at safety, or is that a potential he could play that
position?
position?
One coach told me they want to get bigger at safety.
Well, that would be bigger.
Dawson was 6'2", but I think maybe the strong safety, the Tutsi was really good, but he's also 5'10".
Correct.
So I think they want to get – and Dom Jones would have been that guy at 6'2".
What do we make of that?
Where's he?
He's in the portal still.
Yeah.
If Cole Wisniewski is playing, that's a monster guy. That's a big dude playing at that position.
I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah. Lastly, by the way, since your friends at Live are on the CW, maybe the Pac-12 might be playing on the CW right now. That's the latest negotiations that the Pac-12
never see them again.
And the CW are talking right now.
I don't get the CW. Do you get the CW?
It is available, I think, over antenna if you get it that way.
I'm not going to put an antenna on my house just to get the Live tour. Good God.
And that many are probably not going to do that.
Still have snow on my roof, by the way.
That's probably not going to happen there. So, all right, there we go.
All right.
Good stuff. Good to see you, man.
Thanks
we
for.
don't have to throw any blows here today. All right, we've restrained ourselves.
Thank you. God.
Most often, he wants to throw a punch at me when I'm telling him we got to record another podcast. So, which I think we're going to do pretty quick, getting ready for the start of.
You call the shots. Ball. You're the boss.
You want to do another one?
No.
You're in off-season mode. All right.
I'll do it. No.
All right. The fans are
asking.
You
say jump, I say how high.
The fans are asking for one, so I'm just
okay, let's do it.
All right, we'll do one later this week.
Never deny it.
Jeff Kolpack, thanks for coming by, bud. There he is. Joins us each and every Monday here on The Big Show. We'll take a break. Hot Mike will start hour 2 on this Monday, Overreaction Monday show. We'll do that right after this on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike on the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody, on this Monday morning Hot Mike, WDAY Extra, Inforum.com. Our thanks to Jeff Kolpack for stopping by. I would never throw a punch at him. Not on television, at least. Not where people can see it, like what happened with our guys on the Timberwolves yesterday. Far be it from me to ever want to go doing something like that. So we appreciate his time coming by. I am reading officially the Dane Brugler piece that he puts out every year called The Beast, which goes to all of his unbelievable NFL draft homework that he does. I mean, this is on 300 some odd guys. And it's not just the cursory, it's got literally anything and everything you would want on a position player. On his top 100 draft board, top 100, he has Cody Mauch from North Dakota State listed 45th overall, which would be midpoint of the second round of the NFL draft if that were to actually go according to this. He's got him ranked as the fourth offensive guard, which is intriguing considering the work he has put in here. This is the summary, and I sent some video for you guys. You can play it when you get it. Says on Cody Mauch, a 3-year starter at North Dakota State, Mauch manned the left tackle position in offensive coordinator Todd Roll's run-heavy gap power scheme. A 220-pound walk-on tight end, he morphed into a 300-pound left tackle, which has been a smooth transition because of his natural athleticism and unrestrained intensity. Had his 2 front teeth knocked out during a 7th-grade basketball game and doesn't plan to have them replaced until he's done with football. We know that story. Cody's told it apparently now 1,000 times to the NFL. Although he wasn't often challenged on an island in pass protection, Mauch has the foot quickness and body control to comfortably operate in space and skillfully maneuver from block to block. His technical approach needs continued refinement, but he's a sticky blocker in the run game, using his hands to latch, create leverage, and reset engagement. Overall, Mauch doesn't have ideal length or sand in his lower body, but he has outstanding movement skills, fierce handwork, and innate competitiveness to become a starter early in his NFL career. He should get a look at tackle first, but also projects well inside, reminiscent of Mitch Morse. That is the official breakdown there from one Dane Brugler, who's one of the tops in the game in regards to his characterizations of players. That's on Cody Mauch. Also on Hunter Lipke. He has Lipke 21st overall in the running backs, a grade of a 6th or a 7th round potential selection there for Lipke. We'll read his summary here. A 3-year starter at North Dakota State, Lipke was part of a running back committee and offensive coordinator Todd Roll's run-heavy gap power scheme. His impressive career yards per carry, 6.1, and yards per reception, 17.6, reflect his impact at the FCS level, accounted for 180 total yards against Arizona in 2022, the only FBS defense he faced in college. An all-conference performer in 4 sports in high school, Lipke is one of the best pass-catching fullback prospects in recent memory, thanks to his body control as a route runner, ball tracker, and finisher. His running and blocking won't be his calling cards in the NFL, but he is serviceable in both areas. Overall, Lipke was a college running back who projects best as a hybrid fullback with H-back pass-catching traits. He needs to find an NFL offense willing to utilize his skill set, but can help his chances by starring on special teams coverages. I think he did that early on in his time with the Bison. I guess that's not too surprising. We've heard throughout this entire time on Lipke was somebody willing to take a chance on him depending on where that team was. If that was a team that utilizes that particular kind of offense. By the way, for Cody, Brugler's got him in the 2nd round. And that's, I think, everything we've heard basically since Frisco. I think since the season wrapped up, that we've heard early 2nd round, late 1st round. He's got Noah Gindorf, by the way, as a grade of a 7th round player. Gindorf is having his individual pro day coming up on Thursday this week, so he'll have a chance to get out there. And he was hopeful, as we had Noah in here in studio last month to discuss that and what his prospects were for the next level. He felt he'd give him a couple more weeks. He did the bench press when NDSU had his pro day at the end of last month. Now a couple weeks removed from that, which it will be. It'll be 2 full weeks since NDSU had his pro day, for him to get out there and actually do some drills, reworking his way back from having a second surgery on that ankle. We'll see. But that as we sit here 17 days out from the first round of the NFL draft. I think that's probably, for people that are wondering, I would believe a real solid benchmark of where things are at right now with those particular players, if you're wondering on that. We'll dive quickly here on Tucker Kraft as well, because I think many are interested to see what he would have for Kraft. He's got Kraft as the 5th-ranked tight end. It's a really good tight end class this year. Got him in the 2nd round as a grade. That doesn't mean he'll be drafted in the 2nd round. We'll do a little bit of summary. A 3-year starter at South Dakota State. Kraft was a hybrid tight end in the Jackrabbits' balanced offense. After passing on lucrative NIL offers from programs like Alabama, we know that, he returned to Brookings in 2022 for what NFL scouts expected to be his breakout season, but an ankle injury in the season opener against Iowa curtailed that plan. He still returned and helped the program win the 2022 FCS National Championship. As a pass catcher, Kraft is an outstanding catch-and-go creator with fluid adjustment and balanced feet. As a blocker, he may not be polished, but he gets after it with the body control and desire to sustain and finish blocks. Since 1976, South Dakota State has only produced 2 top 100 draft picks, and both were tight ends. Dallas Goedert and Steve Hayden, by the way, back in 1999. Kraft should be the 3rd. Overall, Kraft needs development time to refine his route running and blocking techniques, but he is big, strong, and athletic with the ball skills and blocking tenacity to evolve an NFL starter. His play style and talent are reminiscent of Foster Moreau, who just got signed by the New Orleans Saints, now going through a Hodgkin's cancer there that we found out during his physical with the Saints a couple weeks ago. Like I mentioned off the top of the show, and we'll dive more into this as this week moves on and into next week, clearly when the draft is right around the corner, I think you're going to have both of those guys picked in the 2nd round, which would be on Friday night of the NFL draft. I anticipate they would be the first 2 FCS guys off the board. That may change. We saw that happen last year where Cole Strange from Tennessee Chattanooga was the first FCS player selected in the 1st round by the Patriots. I'm anticipating today, because I had somebody ask me about this, that we'll get the official announcements of who has been invited to the draft, who's accepted invites to the draft. I think that will probably provide some more clarity on who the NFL is anticipating as a 1st-round pick. If Cody Mauch gets an invitation to Kansas City, then I think that gives you more indication that somewhere at the back end of the 1st round, someone thinks that they may select him there. But I guess all the intel that we're hearing right now is that is not a likely happening, that the 2nd round is where he would go. But if you're a draft nerd, that is mandatory reading is the beast from Dane Brugler. We've had him on the show a couple of times, and I know this is his busy time. He works for the NFL Network as well, and I'm sure he'll be on television quite a bit touting this today. But if you want to go into dive into that, if you have an athletic subscription, you can check it out. But he's got Bryce Young, number 1, C.J. Stroud, number 2 of his quarterbacks, and Anthony Richardson, the kid from Florida, number 3, with Will Levis and then Hendon Hooker. Why I bring that up is because your Minnesota Vikings are dancing around with the potential. Would they take a quarterback at the end of the 1st round? Would they go and do that with their 1st-round pick, even if there are great defensive players available, and there very well could be where the Vikings pick, and that is an area of need? Would they go and do that knowing they've got Cousins, at least for this season, before blowing things up and going in a different direction in 2024? Remember, they have not negotiated a extension with Kirk Cousins. They restructured to know he could be a free agent after this year. Are they tantalized by one Hendon Hooker, who had an unreal season going for him at Tennessee before he tore his ACL? Single-handedly helped Tennessee beat Alabama in the game earlier this season. Is that the road that they would potentially go down? Might be interesting if Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah want to do that. They've already made some difficult moves with personnel. I don't think they're done. Personally, I do not. I do not think what they have is going to be the roster you're going to see, because I don't believe Zadarius Smith and I don't believe Dalvin Cook are going to be on the opening day roster for the Minnesota Vikings. I may be wrong on that. Won't be the first time, but that would surprise me on both ends, considering they paid Madison, that would be the case. But that's why the NFL draft gets the ratings it does, because of the intrigue around it. And the next 17 days will be filled with that, and certainly on our program going forward. We're due for a break. We'll take one now. Hot Mike continues on this Overreaction Monday. We'll be back right after this on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com. Hot Mike rolls on this Tuesday morning. Quick thing, just going back into the beast here from Dave Brugler, also has Nash Jensen as a preferred free agent grade. Says overall, Jensen will struggle to square and stymie quick twitch NFL rushers, but his anchor and bulldozing strength in the run game will give him a chance to stick. Says grade priority free agent on Nash Jensen. Same with Spencer Wagee. Has him listed there. Wagee isn't explosive as his testing numbers might suggest, but is an energetic athlete with a versatile body type, projecting best as a 5 technique, which is, that's why he added some of the weight that he did. So those are the guys that are officially in the NFL draft grades for Dane Brugler's Beast, which you can check out at the Athletic site if you are so inclined, with the draft coming up in a week and a half's time. Also, the WNBA draft is tonight for those interested. Aaliyah Boston likely going to be the number 1 pick. The Minnesota Lynx actually have a couple of picks in the first round. They have the 2nd overall selection. Cheryl Reeve to do some retooling of a roster that has been not quite good enough over the last couple of years. Be interested to see what happens there with their roster. Also, this news, I missed this yesterday. One of the top players from South Dakota, Thomas Heiberger, has made his verbal commitment that he's going to play in Madison for the University of Wisconsin. That he committed 6'4", 215 pounds from Sioux Falls, Jefferson, and he had everybody in on him, including the Bison. But he's going to play for Luke Fickell in Wisconsin, so that's a big get there. As again, state of South Dakota, much like North Dakota, getting high-profile Power 5 FBS teams to come into the state to find some dynamic football players. I think we visited with Matt Zimmer about Heiberger when we were down in Sioux Falls about his potential, and he is gone to the University of Wisconsin. Okay, I got to do this quick before we bring Reggie Jackson on to talk about Shanley's new project that's going on down on the south side of town. I'm watching the Twins game on Friday, the home opener. They come back, walk-off win against the Astros. The pitcher for the Houston Astros comes into the game late in the game after Presley did his thing. Why can't the Twins find guys like Ryan Presley? Ryan Stanek is his name. Can we have a photo of Ryan? We should bring this up. Not normally remarkable, but I'm watching the game like, this looks like a guy I know. Our guy, Kyle Strecker. Kyle directs our show, who was a baseball pitcher in his day. These guys are the same. I don't know if we have our camera in the back. Kyle's directed our show today. Serious, these are the same guy. How are they not? Look at that. They are the same dude. Tell me that's not the same guy. Come on. It's the same guy. He pitched. Don't let him fool you. He pitched in his day. He's got the long flowing hair, just like our guy Stanek does. I saw this. I'm like, we got to do this on the show on Monday. It's the same guy. I don't know if his fastball is as good as Stanek's. He'll tell me probably it was in low mid-90s. In his heyday, but I had to bring that up because it's the same guy. He could have went out there and blown the game for the Astros on Friday, much like Stanek did. So I wanted to make sure we got that in on the show here this morning. I mentioned this in our conversation with Kolpack before he left on the Western Illinois job. Looks like that Rob Jeter is going to take that and leave Western and become the basketball coach at Southern Utah. It's interesting, though, when I click on the on the link for that job or that story, that is no longer there. I don't know if they changed the link or if it's not officially official yet. It appears it's not officially official yet. Western Illinois has moved on. That they have hired, they moved Chad Boudreau, who's one of Jeter's assistant. He's the interim coach now in Western Illinois. But again, you wonder if that's a money deal. You know full well what's going on in Macomb, that the struggles there financially and getting players there is well known to anybody who follows mid-major basketball. Certainly in the Summit League, they know the limitations of what happens there. But Jeter turned that team into they were solid over the last couple of years. He got Trenton Masner there, who's been an all-league player each of the last couple of seasons. And that's not an easy place to win. It just isn't. They were in the top half of the league each of the last couple of years. They lost their opening round game to St. Thomas at the Summit League basketball tournament last month, but that they've been a thorn in people's sides. They've beaten South Dakota State. They've beaten North Dakota State over the last couple of seasons to challenge themselves. And I'll be interested to see what Western does there. I think it raised some eyebrows when Jeter went there because Rob had experience. He won at Wisconsin, Milwaukee. He was a longtime Bo Ryan guy and won in the Horizon League, thinking, all right, maybe this is a step back to get, into a higher profile job to go to Western Illinois. You didn't think he would be there long. I just didn't think you'd leave Macomb for Cedar City. Southern Utah is another difficult place to win. Even when they were in the Big Sky, then they moved to the WAC. I'm not a great WAC mind. I'm not afraid to admit that to people here on the show. I can't even tell you how they finished. We can look here quickly in the WAC this season. Let's see here. Southern Utah they were decent this year. Finished 24-13, 12-6 in the WAC. And the teams in this conference, again, Utah Valley, where Mark Mattson was the coach. He just got the job at Cal. That's where Sam Houston is, obviously, Stephen F. Grand Canyon, Seattle, Tarleton, Cal Baptist, Abilene Christian, UT Arlington. I mean, these are new to Division I programs outside of New Mexico State, and they had all sorts of issues there. They canceled their season early because of all the off-the-court issues that were going on at New Mexico State. So that's what Jeter is leaving Western Illinois to take the job at Southern Utah. Again, they have made a priority. That's a basketball league, much like the Summit is a quote-unquote basketball league, even though you've got schools in there that have put maybe a higher profile in football. That's, to me, it's a difficult place to win. But in this day and age, especially knowing what you have facility-wise, what you have resource-wise, it's limited in Macomb. So even if it's not for that much of a pay bump, I can probably understand why Jeter left for Southern Utah there, simply because maybe it's better, and this is the new phrase, better access to winning is the new phrase it gets thrown around these days. So that would make sense there. But that's the second different Summit League men's job to change. I don't believe any on the women's side have turned over. Everything there is stood pat after we had a lot of change last year on both the men's and the women's side. That is not the case so far in the offseason. And at this point, I would think that most jobs have already been filled up. Real quick before we go to break, friend of the show, Guy Fridley, messaged me. He's the AD at Dickinson High School. Says, spring is here. I believe it's the first North Dakota high school spring sport to have an outdoor event today. Dickinson is playing Jamestown in a non-conference softball doubleheader at noon. So here you sit on April 10th, and at least out west, we're going to have a outdoor sport between Dickinson and Jamestown set to compete later today. So there you have. Don't mark it down. I don't know when we're going to have one on the east side of the state. I think at least 2 more weeks, but at least on the west side, we've got outdoor sports going on. So there you have it. We'll take a break. We come back. We'll ask our next guest about when he thinks there might be a sport played at his school in the springtime. Shanley Athletic Director Reggie Jackson will join us about big, exciting project happening on the south side at his school. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com. Welcome back, everybody, to Hot Mike here on WDAY Extra, Inforum.com on a Monday morning. Sun is out. Apparently, we're going to have high school sports happening on the western side of the state. I don't know. We're probably a couple weeks out from that happening on the eastern side of the state, but our next guest may be able to answer all those questions and then some. I'm putting probably too much pressure on him as we welcome on first-time guest. I'm excited to do that. Reggie Jackson joins us, Shanley Athletic Director, on this Monday in terms of a big project heading down the Deacon Way. It's great. First off, you have umpired, officiated. What is the all-time? You saw, I don't know if you saw what happened in the Wolves game yesterday. The craziest thing you've ever either seen officiating, umpiring that you needed to get involved in?
Oh boy. Boy, I don't know. I don't. If I start talking about it, I don't know if I'd ever stop. So there's been a lot of crazy things. You name it. There's YouTube clips out there from the Northern League that probably the beam balls where Simonek got in a fight with Baith up in Winnipeg that ended up on Keith Oberman. That was probably the craziest thing. But
when you're living through that, it's just what in the world is happening, right? Is that what's going through your mind?
In that particular instance, when that happened, it was more just not enjoyable, but funny for us as umpires to see. Usually they're getting mad at us. So when they're going at it with each other, it's kind of stand back and watch the show.
Oh, man. It's great to have you on. I appreciate the time. I'll ask you that. I saw Guy Fridley put out a tweet that it looks like Dickinson's going to have some softball today. How close are you or anybody having an outdoor sporting event here?
Well, in Fargo, probably the closest we'll get will be soccer. The girls' soccer would probably start first. Baseball, I just confirmed with Sioux Falls. We were going to go down there this weekend, and it sounds like that's going to happen. We'll know more on Wednesday.
Nice.
But baseball, probably the one that'll be furthest away until we, maybe West Fargo with a turf field, some of that. But, historically, I always said umpiring was always April 23rd. Was kind of our first day, so I'm going to stick with that for that.
That's 2 weeks from now. That's what I was thinking, sometime between then and hopefully not May 1. But you've been up here long enough. Is there even within your colleagues and ADs about any potential of moving the spring season, or is it just, we're in this is where we're at climate-wise and geography-wise, this is what we have to deal with?
I think everybody'd be open to talking about it, but there's always that law of unintended consequences anytime you move something. So I think, obviously the article about post 400 and stuff in the forum yesterday, I don't think baseball could ever move back because of Legion. There's too many people still active in Legion, but I think the other sports that don't have those established summer programs, there certainly should be open to thinking about that.
Mm. Well, we have you on because there's some big news happening at Shanley with a new turf and track project that is slated to start here in the not-too-distant future. It's funny, I remember being down there, Reggie, when the turf was dedicated and everything broke ground. It seems crazy that that was 14 years ago, but the lifespan of these normally is about 10. So have you been living almost on borrowed time here over the last couple of years?
The one fortunate thing in this, what Field Turf told us, they would do the impact testing every year, and our turf was still rated very well, like almost new in that part. So as far as concussions and taking hits, it wasn't a problem. Ours was just getting torn up so much from playing softball on it, 2 different soccer seasons on it, football, plus all of our PE classes that we hold out there. So from that aspect, yeah, we got as much as we could out of it. And then once we started talking about it, that's kind of where the track grew out of.
So now that this is going to be a thing, tell us about the next steps and adding the track to it. Was that just like you said, an unintended consequence, or was that something you wanted to do, was to get a track part at part of this field?
Well, the field originally was built to have a track around it. And so I think that's always been a plan. When they put the permanent bleachers in, I think that kind of thought, well, we'll never get to that point. But, really, it was a community effort. Our alumni, parents, the booster clubs, everybody came together to, let's do a track since we're doing this and do it right. And it's really exciting how quickly we were able to do this.
$3.5 million privately funded. People will look at that number and say, holy cow, but you're doing this all internally now. But everything goes back to the weather. Has this been derailed in terms of when you can start, or when are you anticipating getting the shovel in the ground to start doing everything?
Yeah, we were hoping April 1st that we were going to be able to get in and start breaking ground on that. When last I spoke to Field Turf, and they said keep the snow on the turf because it'll melt and drain fastest there. So, and it won't make the rest of the surrounding ground mucky and stuff as that melts. So, they still thought back in December, April, August 1st would be completion date.
Okay.
So, maybe, if we get delayed here 2 weeks, hopefully, maybe we don't get a couple rainstorms in June and we can pick it up then and still get there for that.
Because your football coach, I'm sure, is going to be tapping on your shoulder like, hey, we want to get out here and play, get out there and use it, right?
Already.
I'm sure. I don't doubt. So for girls soccer, does that mean will they be relocated, or what are you doing that last for this spring?
So nope. So girls soccer. So pretty much we've had to book arenas and places to play. So our girls soccer, for the most part, is practicing at Davies and playing our home games at Davies.
Okay.
There's a few other times we're at North and South. So
it's just temporary relocation for what needs to happen. The track part is interesting, Reggie, because there's only a couple in Fargo, honestly, that Davies has one, South has one, North is going to get its own. How big a deal is this for Shanley to get a track? And are we talking full 8 lanes? Can you give us the details on the track?
Yeah, this should be one of the best tracks, surface, everything in the upper Midwest. And let's credit our president, Mike Hagstrom, for his leadership on this. He did not want us to go cheap on this. Binon is the company that we went with. We're using their top of the line surface. It should last us 20 to 40 years. Wow. So yeah, I mean, this is a college D1 level track surface we're putting on there. So we're pretty excited. We're doing this the right way, and it'll be fun to host some meets.
And is this something where you think you can attract some larger meets to come to Shanley when this comes in?
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever pull the state meet away from Bismarck in the bowl, but maybe we'll host EDC and maybe some Class B region meets and who knows what else we could maybe host here.
How much have you found out about field turf that you never knew over this process?
The only thing I knew about field turf before this was I liked umpiring on it just because rain delays were pretty quick. You didn't have to pull tarps, you didn't have to worry about any of that.
Right.
But I learned more about the concussion stuff, more about leg injury, knee injuries, soft tissue injuries than I'd ever imagined I would. It was quite an interesting process to go through.
To have this now know it's going to happen, I mean, how much of a weight has this been? Something you've been working on for a long time? How much of a weight is this off the shoulders?
Well, my first. Probably first or second day on the job, I was out walking on the turf, and I was with Coach Mattern, and he was kind of pointing out, there's a seam, all these things. I was like, boy, I should have got a tour before I took the job. But he was just pointing out. I mean, we got it fixed every year, and Field Turf was very good about coming out and patching stuff. But he was just making his point that it needed to be replaced, and so I started looking into it and bringing in our president, another guy who deserves a lot of credit because he raised the money, as our advancement director, John Clockey. He works behind the scenes, but he got the money. I mean, so he got it done for us, and so here we are. So it's kind of nice that it's finally happening.
I'm looking at kind of the layout here, Reggie, and the blueprint for it. So where the actual track will go, there's nothing physically you have to move then, correct? Like the field, nothing of that has to actually move, or does it?
Oh no, the field does move.
Okay.
Yep, and so the field will be moving 35 feet to the east.
Okay.
So they'll pull up the tarp, and then they'll tear up all the concrete work underneath, move the football field to the east 35 feet, and then they put in the track, and then they relay the turf, and so the bleachers stay put. Everything else is moving over.
Was there any talk, and I know maybe I'm spending your money here, upon permanent bleachers on the other side, on the west side of the stadium?
So we thought about that. One thing is because of where the sun comes from, it would be west-facing bleachers, which is difficult. It's not fan-friendly.
Nope.
So probably that's why we came up with just moving it towards the east. That's the best spot for what we're dealt with there.
Well, the people across the street, by the way, get blocked. All those people that like to watch the events, it's like Wrigley Field. They'll have their view blocked, right? That they wouldn't be able to see that coming in. Well, that's exciting stuff. When you look at now with this having been now officially moving forward, student reaction. What have you heard from just either students or other coaches? Like, hey, this is happening. Come fall, it's going to look completely different.
Yeah, everybody's excited. I think, unfortunately, some of the students that are seniors this year, for them, it's kind of bittersweet that, but they're still part of it, though. Everybody that was here and along the way was part of the process. I mean, so they'll certainly be welcome to come back here, and their kids can maybe play on it hopefully someday. And, we're kind of like a small town in the middle of Fargo here. So hopefully they still get some use out of it somewhere down the road.
I got to ask you before I let you go that you have mentioned off the top, you've done officiating, umpiring for so long. If I was a prospective umpire, I wanted to get into reffing, what would you tell me? Would you encourage me to get into it? Right now, it seems like it's such a hard job. Nobody wants to. I saw some young guys at the State A basketball tournament, which was great to see. What would you tell a prospective person about trying to get into reffing or umpiring right now?
I would encourage them. I mean, I got into it. Dave Shellhouse is the one who got me into it as a job for during college, umpiring and officiating basketball. I'd encourage them. Don't listen to the noise about, there's always going to be fans have been fans. I've heard bad stories from guys who did it 30 years before I did. So that's always going to be there. I think, perhaps the pay could catch up a little bit. I think it kind of got behind the times with that, and that might discourage some people from saying, well, I'm not going to travel here or there. But I would definitely encourage them. I enjoy it immensely. The people that you meet, the traveling. I always liked going to Winnipeg or Calgary or Edmonton, you name it. I've got a favorite spot in every town. So, and we need more young people. That's where it was good to see that Class A state tournament with some of those younger guys. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, those younger guys are better trained than we were when we started out. So yeah, they might be in their third year, but really they're probably where I was in my 10th year. So I think that's one thing that the officials do a better job training future officials now. So yeah, they may not have dirt under their cleats like somebody else, but they're in a better spot now than we were back then.
When you see that, how much does that help going forward, that there are younger people out there that want to get into it, that can get somebody else off the couch and want to go do it?
Yeah. It's encouraging to see that, that's how people get into it, is they just talk to their friends and things like that. And I would say that, yeah, if you're sitting at home on your couch and think you can do a better job, come on down. I've got extra shirts. I'll give you one. I'll give you a 5-minute free tutorial on how to be a ref, and we'll go.
Oh, man. It's great to see you. Thanks so much for doing this, bud. Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing everything transform and seeing the first soccer and football games there this fall, okay?
All right. Thank you, Dom.
Thanks for the time, bud. There he goes. Reggie Jackson, Shanley athletic director, longtime umpire, basketball official, joining us here on the show this morning. $3.5 million project going down at Shanley that will now include a track. And you have to imagine, as he mentioned, getting the race with the EDC West Fargo's got a great facility. Cheyenne has its out there that, and North's going to have its new one. It's an arms race around the area. There's no doubt about it. And it's funny because Shanley was the first to get into the club, and they were the first. They had everybody down there. They had softball. I can't remember. It was 2013 maybe, the first really bad spring. And Shanley said, "Come on down." The late great Randy Nelson, former AD, said, "Come on down. You guys can play." We had softball there for 2 weeks before we could actually play on dirt. And they were able to do that because they had turf. They were the only ones at that point. West Fargo didn't have it yet. South and North didn't have it yet. That was it. And everybody played there and took advantage of it. And now they're going to get a new surface coming this fall. We'll take our final break. We'll come back. We'll get you ready for a busy, actually, Sports Monday. We'll do that. We'll wrap the show right after this on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com. All right, wrapping up our show on a busy Monday morning. All right, thanks again to Reggie Jackson for coming on. How about this news in anticipation of the WNBA draft tonight? The WNBA just released a statement saying that the league will be expanding its charter flights program for players this season. The charter program will include flights for all postseason games, beginning with the start of the 2023 WNBA playoffs through the finals, the Commissioner's Cup Championship game, and select regular season games where teams have back-to-back games on the schedule. Previously, the WNBA approved charter flights in specific instances during select games in recent years, and in 2022 expanded the program to include the Commissioner's Cup Championship and all WNBA Finals games. It's a huge deal, something that the league has been fighting for. Its players that they were flying, basically coach to select games. That now that they have this step, which is a huge deal, and something it should. The league is It's much like we saw with the women's basketball tournament, and you've seen the record ratings for that. The WNBA is only getting better, and more people are watching. I can share a story that the growth for all women's sports, television wise, is just going through the roof right now. That there is. I think businesses starting to see there's money to be made here, that to get on board with this in anticipation of the draft tonight and next year, where you're going to see these high-profile players in college then go on and play professionally. That is something that businesses will want to hitch their wagons to. Why wouldn't you? Aaliyah Boston is about as popular a player as there is. She is as well-spoken and is just a good person as there can be. She'll be the number one pick tonight, and that's someone you want to put on posters. That's someone you want to have the face of the league. Much like next year when we're in this position, and it could be Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark. Those are that you want to have your league attached with those players. They were dynamite in college, much like they had for years in college basketball on the men's side. You saw them play in college. Now they're going to go play in the NBA. It worked out well for both parties. It can do that there with the WNBA. Speaking of which, if you want to watch, that's tonight. The WNBA draft is later tonight. That's on ESPN2. That's at 6 o'clock tonight that begins for the WNBA draft coming up later tonight. It's ESPN, and then it moves to the Deuce for the later parts of that. The Minnesota Twins will play a day game today as they'll take on the Chicago White Sox. 1 o'clock on Bally Sports North. The looming bankruptcy payment, by the way, I had somebody ask me about that, is Thursday. There has to be some sort of resolution there. Kenta Maeda will go for the Twins against Dylan Cease for the White Sox in the opening game of that series. White Sox are 4-6. The Twins come in at 6-3 after losing their game yesterday to Houston. And the Minnesota Wild play tonight at Chicago against the Blackhawks, 8 o'clock tonight on ESPN. The Wild have officially called up Marco Rossi, one of their standout young players. He is now with the Wild. Kirill Kaprizov returned to the lineup Saturday night in their win over the Blues. They start the day 4 points behind Colorado. They may not be able to catch them for the Central Division Championship. Thanks to our guests today, to Jeff Kolpack and to Reggie Jackson. If you missed any of our show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. Everybody have a great Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow on Hot Mike on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com. Have a great day, everybody.